happened and then it went away. They are making things better and better. And one of the things that I really liked about this was that Eric Birkeland, who was the president of the Ohio Manufacturers Association, who told us his frustration of his members, came to the report out afterwards and was there applauding the team and very appreciative of how things moved forward. So our partnership with the business community really helped us to pull this off. Therefore, we had a good success for our very first effort. We had a couple more efforts that we used guide-on facilitators on, and then, flushed with success, we got kind of cocky and decided we were going to try it ourselves. And we chose the Department of Taxation for one of our next projects, and again, it was based on pain. The group was the compliance division, and what happens is if you fail to pay your taxes, or you pay the wrong amount, or you don't send in the proper forms, the Department of Taxation will kindly contact you and ask you for more information. And, of course, you know that there's a fear of penalties or interest if you don't get this stuff done on time. And so you mail in whatever was requested, and unfortunately what happens is that piece of correspondence sits and sits and sits. And I've written there that the current state is 66 days. That was the best-case scenario. In fact, it was between 66 and 112 days, I believe, because one of the first things you had to get through was the 60 to 90-day backlog where it just sat before anyone got a hold of it. The process was so long and complicated that it sat and sat before someone could even look at it, and then it took a while to spend on people's desk. And you can see here the current business process map again, showing exactly what all there was. And in this one's perspective, there's the new process we came up with. And when you look at it, you can just see how many non-value-added activities were removed, how the steps were smoothed out, how things moved forward. And in the end, these were the kind of results we got from taxation. We, again, reduced the steps considerably, and we were also able to reduce the backlog and reduce the average shelf time. And we cut almost 100 days off of our first project. We wound up cutting another at least 60 days off of this project. So we really were starting to make some headway as we moved forward using Lean to clean up our processes. Now, the more successes we had, the more demand we had. We began having a number of different people asking us to do more and more Lean events. And at the 2-year mark, we started taking a look at 30-plus projects and how we'd done. It was interesting that before we never really mapped out any of our processes, and now we were mapping them out both in value streams and in Kaizen events, and we had eliminated over 2,000 unneeded steps, time-wasting steps for our customers within those processes. We wound up cutting over 60% of all the steps that we documented in our Kaizen events and more than 70% of the delays that we identified. And that included 250 different decision points that didn't need to be there, 200 delays, 350 handoffs that were eliminated, and the average Kaizen event reduced start to finish or lead time by 41%. And we tracked that as more than 1,000 hours, and then you start multiplying it by the number of people who go through those processes. We were really saving a lot of time for people and eliminating an awful lot of waste. Talk a little bit about our biggest successes, and here I've got my tongue-in-cheek just a little bit when we look at things, but you know, our Kaizen awards for the best performances in a couple different categories here. The categories are most process steps eliminated by a team, most near knockout fights by team members in 1 week, most time delays that were eliminated for our customers, the biggest Kaizen event ever, and the most money saved by a Kaizen event team. And the winners are in Ohio. The first one is in the category of most process steps eliminated. It's the Department of Agriculture, who eliminated 124 steps from the farmland preservation application process. And Ohio, a small state that also relies on agriculture, farmland preservation is really, really important to us. And our process took up to 2 years. And while it was very important and people enjoyed it, the waiting time was just too long. And they were not only able to eliminate 124 process steps, but they were able to eliminate 295 days of delay, which is just remarkable. I've included our website on the last page of this presentation, and if you're interested in any of these, for more information, you can go online and get all the information, see the actual report-out documents, usually see some kind of photo display, as well as an article on each of these process improvement teams. So that was our first winner. In the next category of most knockdown fights, and the winner is the Department of Natural Resources, which also includes the Ohio EPA, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and 5 members of the coal mining industry. And obviously I'm kind of laughing about this one, but this is really critical. A lot of times when we were putting these presentations together, people resisted bringing in our customers, people were concerned about bringing in outsiders, and people didn't want to have conflict. And what we find is that if you're going to make true change and really fix the system, you need that healthy conflict in order to figure out what the problems are and move forward. And even though the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and DNR and EPA didn't always work together very often, when we finally got them together, things worked out well. But we have something called the Wednesday Trough. And during our week-long Kaizen events, somewhere around Wednesday, people realized that even though this is a good idea, and even though they're excited about making changes, they weren't just talking about other people changing, they're talking about us changing. And we're also talking about the complexity of the problem, and you get this Wednesday trough where people just put their head in their hands and go, oh man, what did I get myself into? And in this particular case, we were doing this in a small town, only had 3 different places to eat, and our team members didn't even want to eat together. We had to have a longer lunch because no one wanted to be around each other. But by Thursday, they were back working together, arm in arm, coming up with some amazing kinds of issues. And so this was the one where we got the most volatile group together, but they had some really good results as of it. And in fact, they become our first double winner because in the category of most time delays emulated for customers, the same team wins. They actually came back into the second Kaizen, and if you take a look at all the delays that they got rid of, they eliminated almost and even more than a year of delay time in the coal permit process, which is just remarkable. And they did this by doing a lot of different things. You know, there was a 50-page document that had to get turned in. They reduced to 3 to 4 pages. Or a jurisdiction report that was from 300 pages down to 10 pages. And over and over and over, eliminating steps, eliminating waste, and simplifying things, working together, just had a transformative effect on this particular process. The next award is the Department of Job and Family Services for biggest Kaizen event ever. Now, people always ask us, what's the right size for a process improvement team doing a Kaizen event? And we like to say about 12 to 15. It can get bigger because we not only bring in customers, as we talked about, but we also like to bring in outsiders who don't have any perspective at all, so they can get big. This one ended up with over 30 participants. We wound up having to have 7 facilitators, 3 large conference rooms, 6 breakout rooms, and we even outgrew that. We were able to bring in a head facilitator from Guidon, and they coordinated the whole thing, and then we had 3 separate Kaizen events going on with 3 separate facilitators and facilitator helpers, and it was funny because in the end, we'd plastered down, 50, 60 feet of hallways as well as the conference room. So that was the biggest one we ever had. And maybe in the most important category, most money saved, again, it's a double winner. Our biggest one ended up giving us the biggest bang for the buck. And when you look at it, Job and Family Services, Show Me the Money team, this is about as a bureaucratic process as you can get into. People who believe this only works in manufacturing just needs to look at something like this where it's all about tracking and working with the federal government for collecting funds. We have now, since we did this about a year and a half, collected $33 million more dollars in our state coffers that we would not have had without this particular Kaizen event. So we were real tickled with the outcome, and congratulations to the Show Me the Money team from the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. One of the things we found in our 30 different efforts was that there were some common kinds of interventions, and after a while, you start seeing these right away when you complete your process improvement map. over and over and over again, we would see examples of batch processing. And while it makes sense